All right, good afternoon to you. We're coming back on the air as the body of a fallen state trooper is arriving at a funeral home on the Treasure Coast.
The trooper Zachary Fink died in a crash Friday when Florida Highway Patrol says he was trying to stop a reckless driver on I-95. Now, we do have video from earlier today, just about an hour ago. The procession with Trooper Fink's body left the office of the medical examiner in St. Lucie County as it makes its way to the funeral home in Port St. Lucie, Stephen.
And as you can see, that hearse moving away from the medical examiner's office. As with many processions in the beginning, you can see that American flag there hoisted by the cranes. Our Terry Parker was there earlier. She talked to us just about the emotional sight of seeing this. You're looking at a small portion of this procession, but it was massive. It had multiple trooper vehicles there, as well as bikers, officers on bikes. So this was a long procession. It left around, I want to say 1:30 in the afternoon. So we're getting word that it is slowly getting to the funeral home at this moment.
And we do know that the procession, the medical examiner's office there is on South 35th Street in Fort Pierce. And the procession then traveled west along Okeechobee Road to the Turnpike. And then they went on the Turnpike south to Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard. And as Stephen just mentioned, it is getting very close to where our Jay Jarvis is, which is outside the Aycock at Tradition Funeral Home, and that is in Tradition on Tradition Parkway. The route, once it got on the Turnpike and got off at Port St. Lucie Boulevard, then has been traveling west on Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard to Southwest Gatlin Boulevard, and then traveling on Southwest Gatlin under Interstate 95 before it will end there at the funeral home. And we tell you exactly where it's traveling because at a time like this, when our community loses someone like a trooper in the line of duty, we know that you at home, you may want to step outside. If you live in the Tradition area, if you are close to Port St. Lucie Boulevard, or if you're close to Gatlin Boulevard, we know that many of you would like to step outside, salute this hero who died in the line of duty, and take a moment to pay him the respect that he so deserves for what he did and the ultimate sacrifice that was made on Friday when he was there in the middle of the morning. We have been telling you about this story since 3 a.m. on Friday morning when Trooper Fink was trying to stop Michael Addison from reckless driving and made that abrupt U-turn and right into the path of a semi-truck.
Right, and with that story, we know people, as Tiffany said, want to pay respect. So let's go to our Jade Jarvis now, who is outside of the funeral home, again in Tradition. And Jade, we saw earlier in your shot, as when the procession was leaving the medical examiner's office, there were people there holding flags. I saw some people in your shot as well, trying to pay their respects.
Yeah, that's right, Stephen and Tiffany. But before we head over to the other side of the street where there are the supporters holding flags and standing along Tradition Parkway here across the street from Aycock Life Celebration Center, I want to show you this shot here of high-ranking law enforcement officials from FHP. I think also we have some deputies from the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office here standing in front of the funeral home and waiting to receive Trooper Fink's body as it arrives here during the procession. Now, they arrived here, the first wave of cars, of law enforcement vehicles, they arrived here around 20 minutes ago. They spoke with the staff here at the funeral home, and now they are lined up right outside the front here, just waiting for the hearse to arrive and the other law enforcement vehicles to arrive. Now, Tim, if you want to swing back around to the other side of the street, as Stephen, you mentioned, we have seen more and more people come out from the community directly across from the funeral home to stand on the opposite side of the parkway so that they can be here and support the law enforcement officials and support Trooper Fink as his body arrives here at the funeral home. We see them, they're carrying flags. Some of them are just standing quietly. It's a very somber and sad feeling here, just as Tiffany mentioned, when we have a member of our law enforcement community unfortunately lose their life in the line of duty. They are here to protect and serve us, and that is what Trooper Fink was doing on Friday morning when that unfortunate crash happened and he lost his life.
And Jade, are you noticing that some of these people, were they standing around? Did they come specifically to pay their respects? Or were they just walking by? What are you noticing?
So I got here to the funeral home because we received word that this is where the procession would end. So I got here around, I want to say 11:30, and there was no one here. So as we have gotten closer to this time, 1 o'clock, 1:30, now we're in the 2 o'clock hour, more and more people have started to show up. First, there were just a couple of people. There were 2 people standing on the side of the road here, and now it has grown to, I want to say, maybe 20, 25 people. And I'm sure as the procession comes closer to this area, we're going to see more and more people come out of this community, which is right across the street from the funeral home.
Okay, Jay Jarvis, live for us right outside where that procession will end momentarily. And as Jade has been telling us and showing us right here, you see so many of the residents there in the tradition area who have come out to honor this fallen hero. We know that Trooper Fink, we heard from officers on Friday, and Stephen, you were there at this news conference when they talked about serving and helping people is all he wanted to do since the age of 6. This was his lifelong dream. All he wanted to do was be in some form of work where he could help people, and that indeed is what he was doing with his 3-year career with the Florida Highway Patrol. And we also know from someone who knew him from their interactions at Publix, he said that that Fink was just a wonderful man who loved the state of Florida. He was a great man, and he would always chat with this person at Publix. It was a friend of his who wrote in to say just what an incredible man our community has lost in Zachary Fink, and to know that his family is seeing this turnout today. The people from Fort Pierce to Port St. Lucie taking time out of their day to say thank you to Trooper Fink for what he did on Friday and what he did for these past 3 years as he was a trooper with Florida Highway Patrol.
And just so young, 26 years old. We've been learning more about Fink's life from law enforcement officials and people we've just been talking to in the community. We know he does leave behind a fiance, parent as well. We talked to a former teacher of Fink's who just said, again, really nice, very popular guy. And that teacher said, again, they're so young. It's like outliving a young person in your life. It's not supposed to happen that way, is what he said. So, you know, when we see things like this, you have so many layers. You have a law enforcement family, you have a community, you have just the people who knew Fink from a personal level, and we can all relate to just seeing officers throughout our community every day. And what you're looking at again is video earlier from when that procession left the medical examiner's office. As we see with many of these processions, the American flag draped overhead, hoisted by 2 cranes. And just so you can get a sense of what we're waiting on as this went down the turnpike, down to Tradition, again to Fort St. Lucie Boulevard, Gatlin Boulevard, Tradition Parkway, this is how long of a procession we're dealing with right now. So we're waiting for that to arrive where Jade is at the Aycock Funeral Home. What we will see happen is the officers take his body out and into that funeral home.
And you see that the troopers have made more of a formation here, and they are prepared to intercept the body as it does come in that procession. And just to reiterate, if you are watching at home and you'd like to step outside and honor Trooper Fink, the route at this point has continued west on Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard to Southwest Gatlin Boulevard, and then it will travel on Gatlin under the interstate before ending here at the Aycock Funeral Home at Tradition, and that is in the 12,500 block of Tradition Parkway. That's where Jade Jarvis is. She has been there throughout the morning monitoring the procession, which started shortly after 1 o'clock. So it's been, I think, Stephen, you have been here, I know, on the air since noon today, and you said it started about 1:30, 1:20?
It did. So we were on at noon. Right at the end, around 1 o'clock, is when we were seeing officers gather at the medical examiner's office. We saw some troopers and sheriff's deputies outside of the hearse. They had their hands up in salute. Right now, you're seeing just where it came from on your screen. Port St. Lucie, the city and even the county, St. Lucie County, was warning people that there would be some traffic backups. So again, they took the turnpike down. We're waiting on that to happen. Right now, we're sitting at almost 2:15. So.
And Stephen, I just got word from our producer that the procession is just now traveling under Interstate 95 along Southwest Gatlin Boulevard, and then it will make its way right after that to the Tradition Parkway, to the ACOG Funeral Home. So we are moments away from this procession. We're starting to see a little bit of the beginning of this procession. As you can see, that is Interstate 95, which you see above going north and south, and we're going to see the procession make its way under the overpass along this Tradition Parkway, and it looks as if we might be seeing the beginning of that procession there, and it will make its way to the ACOG Funeral Home at Tradition with the body of Trooper Zachary Fink. If you are just joining us, it is about 15 minutes past 2 o'clock, and we have been monitoring the procession with Trooper Zachary Fink, his body being taken from the St. Lucie County Medical Examiner's Office in a procession, a moving, somber procession throughout St. Lucie County from Fort Pierce to Port St. Lucie, where his body will be until funeral arrangements are made. And my understanding is we are still waiting from the family and from FHP as to when his services will be held, Stephen.
Yes, we know a lot of people in the community are wondering about that to pay their respects. We're working on getting that information right now. It's not clear just yet. But what you're looking at here, what we should expect to see is that hearse in the middle, and then we saw some officers on bikes to the side of it, about 2 on each side. So they were guarding each side as they came down. What you will see beyond that is a line of trooper vehicles. This is a moving sight. Unfortunately, it is the reality of the job sometimes, but they make sure that they honor the lives of the people who gave up their lives in the line of duty.
And we would, of course, expect Florida Highway Patrol leading the way, but also we expect to see the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office a part of this procession, likely the Martin County Sheriff's Office. They were there on Friday as part of the investigation. And oftentimes you will see agencies from all over the state come and have a someone who represents their office as they help move Trooper Fink's body from the medical examiner's office to the ACOG Tradition Funeral Home on Tradition Parkway. And here is the beginning of the procession.
Yes. It's the second one that we're seeing. Earlier on Friday, we saw the trooper's body moved from the hospital to the medical examiner's office. So that was on Friday. The weekend has come, and what we are seeing now is it being taken from the medical examiner's office in Fort Pierce down to the funeral home in Port St. Lucie. You're seeing the beginnings of it right here. Normally with these processions, you see them going relatively slow, but you see those lights flashing in the distance. As we said earlier, the officers on bikes sort of leading right here, and you're seeing beyond that the hearse and that line of trooper vehicles. So it'll slowly move its way up. You'll then see it pull up to the funeral home where you saw R.J. Jarvis earlier. There were some officers standing by, taking that body into the funeral home.
And we know that there are many people lining the streets there of Tradition Parkway near the funeral home. People have been coming out of their homes. Once we finally got word and details of what the route would be, people have been coming out to salute this fallen hero, this fallen trooper who died in the line of duty at 3 in the morning, Friday morning, as he tried to stop a reckless driver from injuring other motorists on the road. And so here we see the hearse and the escorts along Tradition Parkway.
Exactly how it left earlier. So again, you're seeing these 2 bikers on the side of it, biker officers on the side, and that hearse in the middle with the American flags.
And we will just watch this as it goes by. You see that trooper and residents alike standing there saluting the procession. It is a somber day for the community of St. Lucie County, for the community throughout South Florida, as we take this moment to say goodbye to a fallen trooper, Trooper Zachary Fink, 26 years old, who his entire life dreamed of being someone who helped others, and indeed he was.
And it was so moving to see traffic stopped and people getting out of their cars to salute Trooper Fink.
And you see how long that procession was. I mean,
Yes.
those are officers, troopers, law enforcement officers from all over who have come to support this fallen trooper. And now this is, as the procession makes its way to ACOC at Tradition, this is Tradition Parkway, and we will be seeing the hearse slowly after this group of motorcycle police officers and troopers. It will come and they will take the body from the hearse and bring it into the funeral home. And as Stephen and I were just mentioning, there is no date at this point that we've heard of that has been set for Trooper Fink's service, memorial service funeral.
Just taking this in right now, it looks like they're now lining up outside of that funeral home as the hearse moves closer. So once they get closer, you can imagine just be a wave of emotions for a lot of the people there. You can see there to the right, people holding the American flag as it passed them, a woman with her hand over her heart, filming it.
I mean, and this really shows you just how long this processional is, because it's still moving down Tradition Parkway.
We're seeing
That's what's on your right, and then on your left is that's where, if you see the lights there, that will be the hearse. It appears as if the procession has ended right there at Tradition. It looks like at Gatlin and Tradition, and we can see the end part of that procession. And now on your left-hand side, here is Trooper Zachary Fink as he is led into the funeral home.
And I'm not sure, can our Jade Jarvis hear us there? Jade, if you're there, just walk us through what you're feeling there as this comes through, and other people, how the mood is.
Yes, I can hear you, Stephen, and the mood here is just somber and sad. As I said earlier, some of the people who were on the opposite side of the street, they moved closer so that they could get a better look as the procession came up here. But besides just, the sounds of the motorcycles and the sounds of, some traffic going by, you could hear a pin drop out here. That's how quiet it is. Everyone is just watching and waiting for Trooper Fink to be received by his colleagues here with the Florida Highway Patrol at the funeral home, and for his body to be to rest here until the rest of those funeral preparations are made. And there's something that's not lost on me, and we talked about it earlier in our noon newscast, but today is also the 4-year Today marks 4 years since the loss of Trooper Joseph Bullock, and definitely the emotions that the FHP troopers are feeling, in addition to, of course, having this very, very sad occasion, having to receive Trooper Fink's body here, and also mourning Trooper Bullock, who died 4 years ago, was killed 4 years ago, rather.
Yes, and Trooper Bullock also on the road and had pulled over to help someone that looked like they needed some help, and that driver ended up turning on him and shooting and killing him. Trooper Bullock also killed in the line of duty, and to have another Florida Highway Patrol trooper to lose his life in 4 years, right behind Trooper Bullock, is it must just be unbelievable for the troopers, because it doesn't happen that often, and to have this monumental loss once again for this department is just so tremendous. It's just you can't even put to words the kind of the loss that this is for a community, for the troopers who, these are their brothers and sisters. They are putting their lives on the line every day that they climb behind the wheel and go out to enforce the law and to protect people and to serve the community, and to have another loss like this just 4 years after the loss of Trooper Bullock.
And the executive director said that at the press conference, made a point to point that out, and he had a pause. He got emotional. And it's always powerful when you see these people who display so much strength every single day, and then they get emotional. It really it hits you hard when you see that right in front of you. And taking you back out here live outside of the Maycock Funeral Home, that hearse just pulled up, as you can see there. It's just sitting right in front of the funeral home. We expect any minute now for Trooper Fink's body to be pulled out of the back there and brought into the funeral home. This is right now going on 2:30 in the afternoon. We know this procession, it started around 1:30 at the medical examiner's office in Fort Pierce. So if we zoom in here, we're seeing...
It appears some family are walking in as well.
Yeah, I was going to say family.
I was just going to ask if we had seen any family, but that does appear to be escorted by some Florida Highway Patrol troopers. It appears as if there are family members, friends who are being led into the funeral home, and perhaps they will stand outside as they watch too, along with us, as Trooper Fink's body and casket is led into the funeral home.
It looks like many family members there. Jade, are you seeing a lot of people come there to the funeral home, to that front door? We're getting a little view here, but a little obstructed. What can you tell us what you're seeing?
Yeah, as Tiffany was just talking, I saw a group of people walk around from the side of the funeral home. It appears that the family members might have been in some of those police vehicles that we saw pull into the parking lot of the funeral home, and then they walked right around the corner and they stopped just right by the door. So I assume that they are going to take Trooper Fink's body out of the hearse and allow his body to be taken in first, and then follow in after him during the ending of this procession. But yes, it appears that there are family members standing there, and we will see them go into the funeral home after Trooper Fink's body goes in first.
And Jade, you mentioned family, because we do know that Trooper Fink is survived by a fiance. He's survived by his father and also a stepmother who on Friday they said essentially raised him from a very young age. And in fact, she was the one who said when he was just 6 years old, he said to her that's what he wants to do with his life, is he wants to help people.
Yeah, and you can see extended family there. I think I saw a stroller being pushed earlier there as family members were headed close to the funeral home. Just a really emotional for many people today. And
you know, one of the things that troopers talk about and police officers is when they talk about the sacrifices they make, because there are times that they aren't going to be able to make it to a kid's baseball game or to a birthday celebration, but they always talk about how much their families sacrifice for them, that they do so much without them because they're allowing them to go out and do the job that they want to do, which is to protect and to serve. And that struck me on Friday, where you were, Stephen, when one of the troopers who spoke said, you know, we talk about the ultimate sacrifice, but the families make a lot of sacrifices as well by supporting the family as their loved one is out on the road doing the job.
And
that
it appears
love.
they are.
Go ahead, Jade.
And it appears that they are preparing. Sorry. They are. It appears that they are about to start removing Trooper Fink's body from the hearse. They did just open the hearse door, and we have several more Florida Highway Patrol troopers who are walking. You can see them walking across the front here to get around to the side so that they can be there as well. Probably to stand where the other troopers are, right by the door. But it looks like they are preparing to remove his body from the hearse.
This always just brings chills to you when you see this happen. Normally, you most likely will see his body pulled out with an American flag draped over the casket, just signifying how much he gave for our community, state of Florida, as he paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. So this is always very moving. You can assume that, look, these officers who are standing nearby, they have to hold it together, but it's a really, really tough situation to be in because you have to hold it together, but it is emotional. So we're most likely going to see his casket pulled out right here and being led into the funeral home. And it does appear to be draped with that American flag. And I think a lot of people's view last time was the casket being taken from the ambulance into the medical examiner's office. So again, now we're seeing it taken from the medical examiner's office into the funeral home.
And again, it appears that the brothers and sisters from the FHP troopers that are here are high-ranking members of the FHP, those who helped train Trooper Fink, those who oversaw his growth over the 3 years that he served as a Florida Highway Patrol trooper. And they will be with him as they take him into the funeral home.
And it is typical when something like this happens that somebody will be by his body from here until the funeral. There will be somebody who is represented by the FHP who will stand guard over his body until his funeral. And again, we are waiting to get details from the family, from the funeral home, as to when services for Trooper Zachary Fink will be held. But right now, you are watching the troopers as they somberly and gently move their brother from the hearse slowly into the Aycock Funeral Home in Port St. Lucie. Trooper Zachary Fink's body will now lay and rest here until his funeral services. His body was taken in a processional today, shortly after 1 o'clock, from the office of the medical examiner in Fort Pierce, and traveled throughout the community until he was received here at ACOG Tradition in what has been a somber and heartbreaking day for this community, as people stood along the processional route saluting Trooper Fink as he made his final journey here to ACOG.
And let's bring in our Jade Jarvis now. Jade, we sat in silence as that happened, just as we heard everything go down as the body was brought into the funeral home. Just walk us through what it was like being there in that moment.
I find myself almost lost for words at just seeing the outpouring of support from the community. Like I said, people coming out from their homes, and just little by little, as we got closer and closer to that time of the procession arriving here at the funeral home, and seeing them with their flags, seeing some of them, we didn't have them on camera because of course we were focused on Trooper Fink and his family and the ending of the procession here, but so many people lined up along the street here, saluted as he was taken into the funeral home. So just seeing that outpouring of support is very moving, and also seeing the procession itself from the Florida Highway Patrol troopers, the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, just seeing the sheer amount of law enforcement officers who are here to show their support, to show their gratitude for what Trooper Fink has done, which is to protect and serve, and he did that. He made the ultimate sacrifice in trying to pull over that driver on Friday morning, and unfortunately losing his life in the process. But again, just a very moving display, something that I certainly will never forget, having stood here and seeing the procession roll in from the moment that those lights we first saw the lights coming down Tradition Parkway. So definitely the one word that I can use is moving.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we definitely understand that.
And we see the procession today, we see all of the lights and the people who have come out, but you know, all you can think about too is his parents, his fiance. He's 26 years old. He was so young, 3 years with Florida Highway Patrol, and doing what he wanted to do since he was a 6-year-old little boy. All he wanted to do, his passion was to help people, and he died in the line of duty doing that. And so of course our hearts and our prayers go out to his close family and friends and all those who knew and loved him.
Yeah, so we understand many of you in the community want to pay your respects. Like we've been saying throughout this, as soon as we know about funeral arrangements, we will let you know. And we'll continue, of course, to follow this on air and online.